Hi, many of you might have one of these external corners at home that you're thinking about wallpapering. The problem is with these external corners is they're very unlikely to be dead straight and dead plumb on the corner here. So we can't really carry the paper round in one piece. If we do attempt to do that, when we fold it round, what can quite often happen is we end up getting creases in the paper, which looks awful, or even because it's slightly wider at the top than the bottom, for example, when you put your next strip in here, you'll find that it's not going straight. It will not be plumb anymore, and you also will end up with gaps between the two pieces of paper. So what is the best way to do this is to do it in two separate pieces, which I'll be showing you on this video. Okay, so I've already hung one piece of paper on the wall here against a plumb line, so I know it is perfectly plumb and straight on the wall. The next thing I'm going to be doing is measuring the distance between the edge of the paper and the corner of the wall there at the top and the middle and at the bottom to see which is the widest point. If I do it at the top first, that is 25.5 centimetres. In the middle it is 25, and at the bottom it is also 25. So it is half a centimetre wider at the top, and my widest measurement is 25.5 centimetres. Okay, so I've pasted up my next piece of wallpaper on the table here. If you've never pasted wallpaper, you can check out my video on how to paste wallpaper. So I'm ready now to mark out to cut my strip off. So the widest measurement was 25.5. I'm going to add another centimetre to that to make it 26.5. Okay. I'm going to mark it in 3 places on here with just a little tiny little pencil dot. 26.5. And one about here. Just a tiny little dot. I don't want to mark the paper too much with pencil. And at the bottom. There. Now I'm going to join up the dots. I don't tend to use a pencil to draw a line because it can mark the paper. What I tend to use myself is one of these putty knives, and I use that rounded part of the knife to make a line on the paper, as I'll show you. So put on the dots like that. And just pull the putty knife along. Don't press too hard, this should leave a nice line on the paper there without marking it with pencil. There we go, so I've got a nice visible line there, ready to trim it off. So I'm ready to cut down through here now. Oh, in case you're wondering why this piece of paper is shorter than the one on the wall, it's only where I've folded it into the centre once I've pasted it. And one other important thing is when you mark your line on the paper, make sure you're marking it on the correct side of the paper. So have a look at the piece which is already on the wall before you mark it. So you don't want to waste a piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to quickly cut down through the mark line. Obviously, if you're hanging a paste the wall type of paper, then you wouldn't have to paste it up first, and you could cut your strip off just dry on the table. But this is a paste the paper type of paper, this one. There we go, so that's my strip all cut, ready to hang. Okay, so I've got the strip of paper here which I already cut off, ready to hang. So it's going to go onto here. So the first thing I'm going to do is lower it down onto my foot so that can take the weight of the paper before I lift it up again. Get it to match on the side here. Like that. That's good. I'm going to be using my hanging brush just to smooth it out. Always go down through the middle first and then to the edges afterwards, so it pushes the air out. That's nice. This paper's quite nice to hang, this one, which is good. And for the next piece, what I tend to do is lift it up against the wall like that, give it a little pinch of my fingers, and I can pull it down gently without tearing it, like that. And once again, just get it to match up on the edges like that, and smooth it down through the middle first, and then to the edges again. That's done on really nice. Like that. Then lift it up, give it a little tap to get it nice and flush at the top of the skirting board there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my pencil, I'm just going to do a little dot just where the corner is there. A tiny pencil dot that I was going to cut straight up to it like this, like that. I'll do exactly the same up here. A little pencil dot on the corner, like that. Cut that into it. Like that. Now what I'll be able to do now is just to turn that around the corner. As you can see, the extra centimetre I added on is now going round onto the wall here. There we go. Nicely. Like that. Get my brush and just give it a last smoothie woovie with the old brush here. Okay. Now I'm going to trim off the overlaps. So I want to give that a nice smack with the hanging brush to make sure it's nice and tight with the surface. But I'm going to use one of these metal caulking tools as a straight edge when I'm trimming off, and one of these snap-off blade knives. The important thing to do is to make sure you've got at least 3 of the line sections of the blade visible, so when you have it on the wall you get more surface area of the knife, so you don't tend to snag it so much. I'm going to put that there like that. Keep the knife flat to the surface. Then leave the knife there and move the blade across, and then carry on like that. Always remember to draw the blade back in again so you don't cut yourself. Pull that off, fold it over on itself, because then it won't stick to the floor when you throw it on the floor. Then that, where I've removed the flap, you always leave a bit of adhesive on there. So always get a sponge and just wipe that off. Because if not, if you don't, after about a month or two you get a big brown stain along your ceiling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carry on and just trim off the other flaps, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so this is the other strip of paper that was left on the table when I cut this strip off. So I need to measure this to see how wide that was. I've already measured it, and this is 26 centimetres wide, the piece that was left on the table. So that strip was 26. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure out 27 from the corner and do a vertical plumb line down here. So I've got a guideline for when I hang the other strip here. So, my pencil. So 27 in. Let's do a mark on the wall there. Now I'm going to be using one of these plumb lines to do my vertical line. Whoops. One of these. But you could also use a spirit level if you prefer, but I always tend to use these plumb lines. So what I'll do is I'll put the string on the dot and hold it with my thumb, and make sure that the weight at the bottom has stopped moving. Like that, so the weight stopped moving, so we've got a nice straight line here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of little vertical dashes with my pencil underneath the string. So I've done 3 little vertical dashes there, and I'll put my thumb on the third one and swap my thumb over again. Then I can do some more. Do another 3. So I've done the other 3 there, put my thumb on that one, swap over once more. Like that. Okay, so now I've got a series of dashes down here which I know are dead plumb and dead straight. So when I hang my next strip here, we know that when I carry on I've got a nice vertical line there to work from. Okay, so now we're ready to hang our strip down through here against the vertical line. If you're using a paste the wall wallpaper adhesive and paste the wallpaper at this stage, brush it down through here and actually go over this flap here with the adhesive when you're pasting the wall. If you're using a vinyl wallpaper, I would strongly suggest you use some of this overlap adhesive and apply it over the little flap here, because vinyl doesn't tend to stick to itself and it'll keep lifting up. So the best way to do, if you've got a tube, is to squirt some in a little dish and use a little brush and just brush it over there. Okay. So I've got my piece of paper here. As before, I'm going to put it on my foot to take the weight and lift it up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to match against the edge of here first, like this. Then when you've got the match on the edge, whoops, pull it back slightly like that, and then just let it slide over so it's about 2 or 3 millimeters back from that edge, like that. The reason for that is when people are walking by, they won't brush it and lift the edge of the paper up as they walk by, like that. Okay. Then what I can do, where I've got these dots on the wall to show it's vertical, I can use those to adjust the paper accordingly to get it to be dead straight on the wall, like that. Okay. So it's about 2 millimeters away from the marks all the way down, like this. Lift this up again, a little pinch, pull it down. That's it. Okay, that's good. I can smooth that out using my hanging brush again. Again, and the pattern nicely flows round. Because we've only lost about 2 or 3 millimeters, you don't really notice any pattern loss on that corner. So I'm just going to trim off the top and the bottom, then we'll have a look at the finished result. Okay, so that's the corner all finished now. It's good because I can hardly see that overlap on that edge down through there because it's quite a nice thin paper, this one, so it's virtually invisible. And the pattern tends to flow nicely around the corner. And the main thing is I know that here, on the edge of this paper, is now dead plumb and dead straight, ready for me to carry on with the rest of the wallpaper across that wall. So I'm very happy with that, all is nice and tidy. So that's how you can approach an external corner if you've got one at home. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you have, why not subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date with all my latest videos.